Welcome to the CEO Card Show. I'm your host, Rebecca, and this show is for the soul-led hustler. If you are simultaneously embodying your best self while actually doing the work, they can coexist. They do here, and you're in the right place. If you have been here before and on video, just a side note, side quest for a moment, welcome to my new office. It's vibey. I can take my dog to work, and we're happier here. But it does look different. So just in case you were curious, then that's what's going on. Now into today. 2025 is here by the time that you watch this. And if you don't feel like setting goals, the pressure is too much, you feel like you've missed the boat, then let's get into it because there is so much pressure to set these huge goals for 2025. Every productivity guru, every second post on Instagram as like the alternative to an ad is going hard on your resolutions. Who do you want to be in 2025? And I feel very anti-guru, but you can actually start these things at any point. I'm actually not a huge fan of the once a year big old goal set. I follow the astrological calendar. I'm not into the Gregorian one, so I'm very much still in winter, still in reflection, making small changes that will accumulate over time. It's not really the season for me to be setting huge ostentatious goals for next year. And that's not to say that I have anything against huge ostentatious goals. I freaking love a huge ostentatious goal, but it is to say that it doesn't have to be right now if that feels out of alignment for you. I certainly feel like it is for me, but I do have a process that you can use anytime. And if that happens to be now, so be it, to actually meet your goals. And no, it is not the SMART technique. It is three really simple questions that work for me. And without further ado, I would like to share them with you because I think that we miss question three actually all the time. So stick around for question three because it's actually really important. And question one is, what do you want? Objectively, the hardest question of all to answer because what we want is usually defined by our conditioning. It's what other people actually want for us, or what we see on Instagram that our business should get. It's those messages that you get from people that you absolutely don't know, that it's like a whole scrolls full of text being like, we can help you book out your client calls and get 6 to 10 new clients a week. And you're like, oh, is that what I should be doing? And if you just started your business, the answer is like, if you're doing that, great. If you're not in the minority. So what we want is so set out for us that it's hard for us to ask it of ourselves. It's hard to ask just what feels aligned for you. If you'd be happy with one client, that's cool. If you'd be happy with 15 clients, also cool. I think that we have to always come back to ourselves when we're goal setting, whether it's in relation to business, certainly when it's in relation to our personal development, but in relation to your business, you have to think about your business and what is a good month in a good subjective, good month in your business and what you actually want to create going forward. Because typically what we see around now is people being like, I want to be the healthiest and wealthiest I've ever been. That's wonderful. That's my goal. But what does that mean for you? Healthy for me is different than healthy for you. Wealthy for me is different than wealthy for you. So you have to know what it is for you. And I know this part is hard, but standing in the truth of that and sticking up for that and believing that that is good enough is probably why you don't want a goal set in the first place. Because actually asking, what do you want, is really, really challenging. But if you can get to a point where you're making decisions for yourself and your business based on who you are and what you know about your business already, then I think that that's much more in alignment than following the next guru that says, I can get you 10 clients in 10 minutes. Because something that one of my previous coaches said to me a lot, so I've heard this one a lot, is whenever I was talking about the things that I wanted, because it is really important to talk about the things you want, she would also caveat and say, if you had everything you wanted dropped in your lap right now, you couldn't handle it. And she wasn't saying that to be unkind or unbelieving in me. She was saying that to say, if everything came to you right now, you don't have the skills and the habits to actually manage it all and stay grounded and sane. I don't know if you've ever had this in your business. It happened in ours at the beginning of 2024. We got 16 clients in one day. That's huge for my business. Huge. I had never brought in 16 clients in one day. I also happened to be on a flight from Hawaii, which makes me sound very privileged. I am aware and I will accept that. But I was on a flight from Hawaii, which meant that I didn't have access to the internet because it was probably like $15 on the flight, and I'm too cheap on a flight to pay $15. I was like, no, I want to enjoy my flight. I love flying. And I think it's because I genuinely get time to switch off. But trying to do that, running through an airport to get to my connecting flight in LA was just like every shade of the privileged drama, but I couldn't actually handle it. I had never set myself up for that. I never thought that the CEO crowd would have reached a point where 16 people wanted to join in one day. I never thought that would happen. So if that's the case, then I didn't have the habits and the things that I needed in place. I didn't have the right structures in place to bring on that many people. It was behind the scenes a shit show. It probably didn't look like that, but behind the scenes. And that first month where everyone was in the membership was huge. We made some huge mistakes and had to fix them. So I think that with the best will in the world, I'm saying this because I understand that people are probably setting you up online for these huge goals and saying that you can do them. You absolutely can, but you cannot negate the fact that you need to grow into the person that can handle that. And I feel like that's what any goal setting session should be about. It's how do I grow into the person capable of handling this experience or capable of creating this experience? So, with that first question, what do you want? It can be 10 clients if you only got one client last month. I'm not saying it can, but we have to then consider question two, which is what habits would have to exist for this to be true. So if what you want is, say you want a client a week, that feels very like basic and done online a lot. So let's stick with that because it doesn't also feel like that unreachable. So say you want one new client a week. Okay, then the habit that has to exist for that to be true is you know that it takes you, the average is 10. I'm just going to go with averages, 10 sales calls to close one client. I think that's below average. If you have invested in your sales skills and your sales training, which I highly advocate, we have a sales mastery series. If you're looking for it, let me know. But with that, if you're closing 1 in 10 and you want 4 clients, that means 40 calls for that 4 clients. It's 10 calls a week. So that's the habit, is that there has to be 10 calls a week in the diary for you to close one, for you to close 4 a month. Don't be weirded out by numbers. I know that some entrepreneurs are like, the numbers, even if you're a creative entrepreneur, especially, you can handle numbers. They are not scary. You've got this. I believe in you. Let's move on. Then we have the habit down. But how can we ensure that those 10 sales calls happen? What habits would have to exist is we'd have to have the sales calls, but what can you do to make sure you get those sales calls? Well, now you know that you need 100 messages to get the 10 sales calls booked to get the one client to get the one a week. So let's go with another example as well, because I want to give you a few of these so that you can see the kind of trajectory of question one, what do you want? Question two, what habits would have to exist for this to be true? Question three, is there a way you can ensure this happens? Now, that's very like numbers based. And if you've been in the game for a long time, then you'll know your numbers and that will make sense. If you're more at the beginning, then what do you want could be, we want, this is something that we genuinely want, is we want to continue to book out our events. Now, I know all the numbers behind the scenes about that, but I also know that I'm human and I don't have the best habits around lead generation. So that I will hold my hands up, my friends. The habit that has to exist is me doing the lead generation on a consistent basis at a consistent time instead of on a Friday afternoon being like, I have not done that lead generation. I'd better do it now. And ruining my Friday evening with my husband because I'm working and then getting to the end of the lead generation, only wanting to eat ramen and watch a Disney movie. So the habit that would have to exist for us to continue to book our events would be do lead generation consistently. Is there a way that I can ensure that this happens? I am not as productive as one may imagine. I think that people see one side of our business where we consistently put our emails on the same day, the same time. We do the same with our YouTube and our podcast and all the things. And we post 3 times consistently a week on social media. We'd like to up that in 2025, but for now, it looks like we are very productive. Every duck is in a row. And I just want to share the behind the scenes of lead generation is that it is not so. I find it very draining to do, but I also know that it gets us the best results and that it's necessary for me to do the things that I love to do. The lead generation is necessary for me to have people on my screen to talk to about the CEO crowd, to connect with other female entrepreneurs, to support women. I need to do the lead generation. So is there a way I can ensure this happens? I can't do it by myself. So my virtual assistant has graciously agreed to be on a call with me once a week. So she can just sit there while I do my lead generation. Whether she wants to do her own work, whether she wants to learn lead gen from me, we've done kind of a mix of both. Cool. But we need that hour together, or I will just leave it till the last minute or not do it at all because we've booked it out a month in advance. And I'm like, oh, we have to send messages to people and be like, we're booked out till February, you know? I think that asking these 3 questions actually gets you the results that you want because not only are you potentially focusing on the data, you're also looking at how can I really create this? How can I make sure that I create this experience, this result for myself that I want? How can I make sure that I do everything in my power to get that one client a week? How can I make sure that I do everything in my power to make sure that we book our events? It could be another example of this. I feel like my dog is a great example of this, and we just got a dog, so you're going to hear about it everywhere. Her name is Freya. She's the most wonderful creature on the planet. She's like lying at my feet sleeping, and it makes me so happy. But what did I want going into next year? My husband has transitioned careers, so we'll be out of the house more often. And I have noticed that I am very good at, when my husband is not around, sitting and working all day. I could work all day and be so fulfilled, but get to the end of the day and feel so much pain in my body because I haven't gotten up, I haven't walked around. So, what habits would have to exist if I wanted to get up and move around, be a healthier version of myself, and not feel so alone in the new year? These are 2 things that I want in the new year: is to feel less alone when my husband is away because I genuinely am codependent, and the second thing is to be healthier. So what habits would have to exist? I'd have to have more connection. So I've grown my friend group, yes, but also I'd have to have more exercise. They're very simple things, but how do I ensure that they happen? Because we all know the habits. The habits make complete sense to us. Like, oh, you want to be fitter, move more. Oh, you want to feel less lonely, make more friends. Like it's very simple. But how do we ensure that happens? Actually, Freya is the perfect example of how I can ensure that happens because we have found out that she likes to go walking at 5 a.m. She also likes to go walking at 9 p.m. She also likes to go walking in the middle of the day, which is wonderful because that fulfills what I wanted for next year is this consistent exercise throughout the day, not just going to the gym, not just doing the dance workout, genuinely leading a less sedentary life. And also, she is literally with me all the time. She comes to work. She is at home when I'm at home. She comes to the ranch to see my parents-in-law. She will come to all the cities that our friends live in to come hang out. We'll walk our dogs together. I'm seeing it, and it's a vibe. I only want to eat now at places where you can take your dog, and that is how I will achieve my goal. If we work with ourselves instead of against ourselves, that's how we beat our goals. And if we ensure that we make those habits happen, whether it's anything I've said or whether it's like get a lockbox so you don't scroll on your phone, whatever it might be, we can't just throw out goals and be like, I want this, and not think about the implications in your very real life. Because this is where people are like, I don't have any work-life balance, or I don't have any balance. I don't feel balanced. It's because you've set all of these things, you're not meeting them. You don't have the habit in the middle. You don't have any way to ensure that it's happening. So there's just a disconnect, and you live in this gap between the two. And that's what hurts us in the long run, because we've not ensured that we keep the habits that we have set for ourselves. So I hope that was helpful. I hope that was a mindset transition so that you don't just set goals and not achieve them. You don't just set goals without thinking about the implications in your very real life. Because make no mistake, when I committed to an extra hour with my virtual assistant that is planned in the diary every week, that is an investment of my time that I had to consider. Okay, well, that means that I'm probably going to work that morning. I had to consider the implications of having a dog and what that would mean in my life. And that's very much aligned freedom for me that might not be for someone else. So don't forget that the biggest part of your goal setting is you. This has to align with you. And to close out, don't be sucked in by the noise, especially if it's hurting you. If all of the noise about setting goals and 2025 being your best year and New Year's resolutions and be productive is hurting you, those are your unfollows. Just gonna say that. And also maybe it's an opportunity to be on your phone a little bit less. Putting that out there as well. If it is motivating you, then watch that stuff, watch those reels, listen to those podcasts, read those books, listen to the audios all damn day, if it is motivating you. But if it's not, don't listen. The only thing that you need to listen to, my friend, when it is your goal setting, is you. And if you have business goals in 2025 and you need to get in front of an audience, then come join us at networking. The link is in the description. We obviously want to help you in 2025 where we can. And we'd love to connect you with some female entrepreneurs that could support you in your goals, that could be your accountability partner for some of these goals. Do not negate the fact that other people, I always reach outside of myself for accountability. We have a dog, we have Sarah, I have my husband. I always reach outside of myself for accountability. And it's because I know that I'll show up for that. So if you're looking for that accountability partner, she might be in our room and we'd love to see you there. So the link is in the description. And until next week, I'll be over here believing in you, with a dog at my feet, and excited for what 2025 has in store for you.